This week's episode was brought to you by MKULTRA and Rebecca Hahn. Thank you, MKULTRA, and Rebecca Hahn. It's with the generous support and continued sacrifice of listeners like yourself that helps our bunch of bunnies stay stocked up on enough caffeinated carrot goop to continue our descent down into chambers unseen by any mortal eyes and transcribing the runes found there into intelligible words and sentences that fill the contents of these episodes. If you'd like to help us spelunk into the forbidden chambers of wisdom hidden below Antarctica, or just hear the second half of this episode, then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of $60, $20, $10, or even $5 will help us propitiate Mammon enough to grant you instantaneous access to not just the extended, uncensored version of this episode, but every single one of our extended-length double plus good episodes, which, after you log in, are able to be browsed from right within Spotify, circumventing whatever demon lives inside the service that processes your payment. And god damn it, if that were not exciting enough, I'll send you a 5x5-inch high-quality vinyl sticker of our Big Bunny Baphomet cover art who connects you to an egregore that grants good luck and good fortune forever. But if that were not enough, Patreon will forward you the secret keys to our Discord server, which is an operational hub for organizers of synchronicity across multiple space-time dimensions. And if you like The Whole Rabbit and are sympathetic to how poor we are at marketing, please consider giving us a like, subscribe, or especially a share on your social media platform of choice. It helps us more than you think. And for that, we thank you. In this week's episode, we throw Tim in the hot seat and force him to tell us the true story of Project Looking Glass, a conspiracy theory that has recently cropped into the mainstream through Candace Owens and links back to not just fictional TV shows like Stranger Things, but clandestine operations carried out by secret elements of the military responsible for projects like Stargate, MKULTRA, and Mockingbird. Join us as we explore the little-known history of the United States leveraging precognition in war and how it evolved into UFOs, time travel, and secret programs designed to produce psychic children, the latter of which, as hard as it is to believe, has only now begun to see the light of day through the revelations in the latest batch of Epstein files, which we hurried to share with you at length in the conclusion of the episode, with more to come in part 2. Thank you, and enjoy the show. You know, I've gone and started a Time Travelers Club.
Oh?
Yeah, the first meeting will be yesterday at 5 p.m. You know, my friend is a non-binary time traveler.
Yeah?
Yeah, their pronouns are they, them.
Yeah.
What can you say to cheer up a time traveler?
What?
The past is yet to come. You know, so the time traveler was still hungry after his last bite.
Yeah?
Yeah, so he went back 4 seconds. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we don't just tell you that your favorite politician is actually the Antichrist, or maybe just secretly thirsting for an Antichrist participation trophy. Nay, we also explore the intersection of black-budget Cold War psychic research programs, time-traveling Republicans, and the recent discoveries within the latest Epstein files drop, because this week we're discussing Project Looking Glass, a vast, interconnected conspiracy that spans not just history and nations, but time itself. I guess history is also time, whatever. I'm your host, Luke Madrid, also known as Hack Rabbit. I'm joined this week by a rotation of active duty officers in the field, the marinator of Marxists, Mari-sama.
Tastes like chicken.
The heliosphere of the blood dimension, Heka Astra.
Hello. Blood dimension sounds wet.
Tim, the high-tech horseback hacker.
Fear the old blood.
And the mind within the labyrinth of time, Dr. Chills, MD, PhD.
Nox Magna Mater Docowit.
You got your PhD at Miskatonic University, I presume.
Yeah, my dissertation was on the Necronomicon.
I always knew you were an eldritch abomination.
Whoa, Tim. Are you hitting on him? What? We have Tim to thank for writing this episode, but researching it as revelations came out in real time pertaining to it was a bit of a wild ride. Like, there's stuff coming out right now in the Epstein files that link back to rumors that have persisted for decades.
My whole school was a GATE program. Every child there was assessed and abused. We had a Project Stargate class for children 5 through 7, and they wanted us to find things by remote viewing. After age 7, I was taken to the lab, where we would be electroshocked and had to wear a helmet. The man overseeing the program was chairman of the Joint Chiefs under President Clinton and President Bush.
This quote comes from an interview guest named Survivor Kate from the Emmapreneur. This is an account on X or Twitter that specializes in interviewing supposed survivor cases from instances like this one. Like, what happened to all those Franklin school kids when they grew up? Here, I've got another one.
Quote, their MKULTRA sexual abuse torture of me as a child created within me a photographic memory, but they made a mistake when they expanded my psionic abilities. I was labeled a human lie detector as a child. They are demonic hybrid beings, not aliens. Hashtag Unite Against Satanists, end quote.
This is from Casey Sunshine Pro singer Kayla Christiana at Kayla Christian, her handle at Twitter. So these are just two of many quotes I was able to find online of people claiming to have been used for Project Looking Glass as kids or other adjacent programs. So with how much stuff is in the news, not just related to the Epstein files, but UFOs and other black projects like the Discombobulator, well, I thought it was high time to give some of these bold claims a fresh look. I am a GATE student myself.
Me too.
I was as well.
And you know what? A lot of my friends that were in GATE did go on to move into top secret, high security programs in the military. I ended up the schizophrenic occult podcaster. I think it's totally possible they were sorting for psychic kids, like trying to figure out who is useful and who is eventually going to become a podcaster. And I want to keep looking into this particular story as time goes on, but we really have to go back in time. Get it? To see where the story truly begins.
When Project Looking Glass gets talked about online, it's usually framed like pure science fiction, fractal timelines, secret military scientists peeking into the future, and, if you dig deep enough, trauma-based mind control and psychic children.
You know, like in Stranger Things. In fact, by the end of this episode, you're going to know how much further Stranger Things would have gone had they stuck to their source material.
And yeah, that sounds insane, but the reason this story slithers through pop culture is because it's sitting on top of something real, a Cold War outlook where the US and the Soviets were terrified of being outpaced in anything, including edge case psi research involving abused kids and wormholes to other timelines. Not because they were all true believers, but because if your enemy might have a weird advantage, you don't get to shrug it off. You get straight to investigating it.
Which is why on this show, we're going to get to the bottom of why Erica Kirk has Michael Aquino eyebrows. To call back to our last few Chaos Magic episodes, Chills pilled us on the idea that Chaos Magic specializes in teleology, which is what magic can do, not so much on the metaphysics that underpin it. So in that way, the military is the original Chaos Magic organization, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Like, we don't care if it's God or Satan or aliens, just make the fucking aircraft float, okay? You need blood from a Portuguese chicken? I got an agent somewhere that can source it for you. I got tons of blackmail.
The paranoia that each side had for each other in the Cold War was not unprecedented. As World War II ended, both sides were raiding and absorbing enemy research like it was a loot drop in WoW, back when it was still good. Part of what they found in Nazi archives wasn't just rocketry and night vision scopes. Some of it was truly paranormal in nature, or at least appeared to be. Stuff that made intelligence people go,
Wait, what other spooky shit were they trying?
Well, besides trying to find frost giants that live at the center of the earth or hunting down the Spear of Destiny?
Exactly. So when the Cold War kicks in, the fear becomes simple. If the other side is messing with mind spycraft, we can't afford to ignore it. And that's where remote viewing comes in. And I'm going to keep this grounded. Remote viewing is a claimed method, not a proven superpower.
We've done 2 shows on the subject before, and in my eyes, it's a proven method, albeit not really a superpower. Anyone and everyone can do it, but repeatability and on-demand is truly another question.
I believe in it too personally, but it's not really something empirical. That's what I probably should have just said.
I think the evidence is very compelling. I think it's real too.
In the way that it's described in declassified era language, it's
Acquiring information by mental means.
the term gets closely tied to the Stanford Research Institute.
So as we learned in our episode about it, Stanford Research Institute was already known for its cozy relationship with the military. Pretty sure Apple's Siri was developed there as an in-field assistant for soldiers soldiers, only later to fall into Apple's hands. And while it would seem the US military's involvement in psychics began here in the 70s, we discovered that Edgar Cayce, the best and most well-documented psychic in American history, maybe even all time, was regularly employed by the White House to perform sessions for various members of the government during both World War I and World War II. So it actually goes back a lot longer than most sources will claim.
I mean, when the Cold War began to heat up, that's when psychic research went into overdrive. You get Defense Intelligence Agency briefings talking about psychoenergetics and remote viewing cycles through multiple program names: Stargate, Sunstreak, Rural Flame, Center Lane, and so on, bouncing through agencies and command structures, with Fort Meade becoming the name people always associate with the operational side.
The fact it had so many program names from presumably various different budgets and departments that survived being renewed multiple times seems to suggest they were actually getting results. Like, they didn't mess with it for 2 years and then go, well, that was a huge waste of money. Let's throw some more money at it. Like, they were getting actionable results. It just seems likely.
Even some of the cases where they didn't get the results they were looking for, the data is still kind of crazy. I remember reading one study where they commissioned SRI to do a study about being able to change your skin temperature from a distance to test psychic abilities, and it didn't prove one thing they were looking for, a very specific thing, but they still wound up coming away with data that said it did happen. People are doing this while we're watching.
And if you're a true believer who's researched it, like myself, there's a lot of protocol. They don't just call it Miss Cleo. It's like any other form of intelligence. You have to combine it with the entire network of intelligence. You can't just use that one piece of information. So that being said, even the best like Ingo Swann, they would only ever boast a 50% success rate at highest. And that was considered remarkable.
I think that is pretty remarkable when the question is something like, where in this 20,000 square mile region is the missile silo?
And you also get the big names: Hal Puthoff, Russell Targ, Ingo Swann, Pat Price, plus the broader consciousness crowd orbiting the same ecosystem.
4 of those 3 names were, at least at some point, high-level Scientologists. Almost nobody mentions that when it comes up. And this is why I say Scientology really became what Aleister Crowley wanted from Thelema. He wanted to be staffing black budget programs from any government, he didn't care, with his own mystic psychics. That is what Scientology seems to have done. Hal Puthoff is involved in like all this crazy stuff, like UFOs. We should do a whole episode on him someday. I keep threatening it, but they always leave that part out.
I wonder why, right?
Well, unlike when you talk about Thelema or the OTO, nobody's gonna break your kneecaps. You know what I mean? Or sue you.
After the program gets shut down and the documents start surfacing, remote viewing goes public and splits into 2 religions. One side treats declassification like validation. The other treats it like proof that governments can fund things for years and still end up with something that doesn't operationalize cleanly.
I think you could tell where I land on this.
And that's the lens I try to keep for all this. Entertain without swallowing.
Do not inhale.
Indeed, just like Clinton, especially when psyops are everywhere. Narratives are weaponized, and humans are really good at building reality tunnels and then defending them like their life depends on it.
I was digging through the CIA FOIA records for this recording, and unrelated, but I found a draft speech for the department on paranormal phenomenon, like a PR response. I thought it was actually a pretty grounded take, both for them and also maybe just for us now, or anyone in the modern day. And it read, "Throughout the ages, there have always been curiosity, speculation, and innumerable reported instances of a wide variety of paranormal phenomena. When such evidence is presented persuasively by people of undoubted probity, we would be negligent if we did not at least view it objectively. We are not in the business of pursuing paranormal phenomena per se, but we try not to be arrogant about it, which is what a lack of objectivity on any issue usually amounts to."
So stay with us, because we're going to follow the paper trail. Cold War history, Epstein timeline war conspiracies, declassified breadcrumbs, and how the whole ecosystem becomes the on-ramp for bigger claims, like Project Looking Glass.
So we've established that the government uses secret psychics. But is there more than that?
What if I told you that out in the Nevada desert, under blackout budgets, redacted files, and a mountain of nothing to see here,
Yes! Sorry, continue.
The US government built something that wasn't meant to just guess the future with like 50% accuracy like remote viewing. No, it was supposed to forecast, not probabilities, not computer model guessing, but actually see the future. A machine that could look ahead, like cracking open tomorrow and staring straight into it. And if that actually worked, because that's where this stops being like cool sci-fi and turns into something way darker.
And what if they didn't shut it down because it failed? What if they shut it down because it succeeded? Because the moment they started peering down different timelines, the options began disappearing. What if every future they checked, every branch, every path, every possible outcome kept collapsing into the same destination?
Oh, like the moment you observe it, it decides how to display. It kind of reminds me of the two-slit experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
But like if God were looking at this one point, and they were like, God, stop looking at the one point. We're trying to with the timeline. And God's like, nope, I'm looking at it. I'm still looking at it. And you're like, trying to distract him with, I don't know, what do you distract God with?
Well, he doesn't like sacrifices anymore. What is the demiurge like these days?
It's all about wearing the right hat.
I want the really tall one that wraps around my hair a bunch of times. I want the one with the little helicopter on it.
I want the one with the raccoon tail.
Okay, fine.
I want the one from Bloodborne.
Does it have a raccoon tail?
No.
As the story goes, the scientists were so horrified by what they saw and experienced that they attempted to warn the public about what they did. Yet slowly, one by one, these scientists vanished without a trace.
This is the tale of Project Looking Glass, one of the most bizarre and fascinating conspiracy theories to speak of. And that's saying a lot considering like all the ones we've covered so far, right?
We've covered quite a few.
And oddly enough, it just gets more and more relevant to us in modern times. And before we're done, I want you to feel that little shift in your gut. The moment you realize the story isn't just about some classified project.
It's about you.
By the end of this, you're going to start doubting a few things you've always treated as facts. Free will, the limits of government secrecy, and whether the future is something we stumble into or something that gets nudged, shaped, and quietly controlled from behind the curtain.
And if that idea doesn't bother you yet, just give it a minute. One reason we're looking into this is because podcaster Candace Owens has recently seen some controversy concerning, among many things, her take on the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, just to be clear, the whole rabbit is apolitical, so we're not here to be biased towards the polarities, but what she has to say about Charlie Kirk and Project Looking Glass has got a lot of people on both sides in a stir. She's basically saying Project Looking Glass was an absolute fact, and that Charlie Kirk kept telling her he believed he was a time traveler. Not a metaphor, he meant it.
Definitely not flirting while being captive inside a loveless marriage with a spy.
Yikes.
Candace claims that Charlie also felt certain he'd die young, and now she thinks the agents around him knew too. He had handlers or surveillance people in his orbit, all those people, they were all a part of it and in on it. And then she throws in another weird layer. She says his security was orchestrated by this guy she names Bill Montgomery, it's one more bizarre breadcrumb in the bigger story.
Quote, Charlie was indeed a gifted child who went to a literal children's school for the gifted. His life may have therefore been a literal Truman Show.
Owens is basically pitching the CIA's Looking Glass project like it's a real thing. She doesn't just stop there either. She zooms out to the wider conspiracy universe, bringing up things like CERN, Mandela effects, and Sumerian technology, and talking about Looking Glass as part of that bigger web of ideas. Owens plugs in Looking Glass as the explanation for how that kind of foreknowledge could exist. Timeline viewing, future peeking, the whole thing. So in her mind, it makes Kirk's situation make sense.
Quote, how was he so certain that he was going to die young? How is that possible? How was he even able to describe it as this tragic event? How did he know? How was he certain, by the way, as he said in those messages, that from the moment he signed onto the dotted line to begin Turning Point USA, he knew he was going to die, unquote.
Naturally, Candace Owens is getting a lot of yucks for bringing up this type of stuff, but I don't want to give a one-to-one comparison here, okay? So please don't flame me alive, but didn't Martin Luther King know he was gonna get his cat pilled? Isn't that one of his most famous speeches? I've seen the mountaintop! He knew he wasn't gonna make it. That's a motif, though, in Christian religion. It's borrowed from Moses, right? I'm not gonna make it to the promised land.
Yeah, man, she's getting, flack from all sides. Who's even she with anymore? I don't even know.
Well, I see good things.
A lot of people want to know that.
Is she a Mossad agent? Or?
No.
Well, maybe she certainly is making
She's
a half
anti-Semitic.
decent. Yeah, She's considered one of the biggest anti-Semites out there right now.
That's kind of the nature of this problem, right? If you're a very ridiculous and incompetent anti-Semite, it could be argued you're on the other side of it.
It's a psyop. Anyway, how I found out about this was actually like watching a video that I clicked on that was trolling her. But the Project Looking Glass stuff just kind of hit me a certain way. I mean, I've heard about it before, but it inspired me to make this episode, to write it out for the show. It's not the first time I've heard about it, but this is the classic conspiracy theory that's been around for forever. So we all know it to a degree a little bit. Like even me, when I was looking deeper into it, I was surprised I only understood like one version of the story, where there's like tons, because this conspiracy theory just evolves and evolves. It's crazy. Like every decade, there's another narrative.
I have to play devil's advocate for just a moment. There is something bizarre and uncanny about not just Charlie Kirk's assassination, but Martin Luther King, JFK, even Abraham Lincoln. Like we've talked about it on the show, like if you line up those two set of facts from Abraham Lincoln and JFK's assassination, like they're too perfect. And to be fair, all this like, oh, are we living in a simulation? I think some of that is because it feels, at least subjectively, if there is a hidden hand that rules this world, they almost have access to historical events at that edit level where they can decide, well, this needs to happen at this time and this needs to happen at this time because this will, you know what I mean? But then everything looks that way in hindsight, right? Even our own lives. So
I'm just saying, if you were the Illuminati and you needed to perform rituals at certain times to have certain results,
it would really help if you had like VATS and you could see like into the future. You know what I mean? Just playing devil's advocate, okay?
Well, dude, it seems also that there's like some weird timeline stuff in some French circles concerning like Trump's attempted assassinations.
I was going to say, or really good astrologers.
Well, something I do want to point out too is that a lot of times when people are dealing with timeline stuff like this, there seems to be like points of where things kind of coalesce and collapse into each other. Like I know when a long time ago, we talked about Terence McKenna's time wave zero theory, or the concept of eschatology, or the eschatomaton, which is the end of this attracting point at the end of time that pulls everything toward it, right? So these like events that you're talking about, like maybe the Illuminati didn't like set up all of the murders, but the murders happened to happen on a converging point, either unavoidable or some event at that time was unavoidable and they were piggybacking off of the power to do their thing, their dirty work.
And like Hecka said, maybe they're just good astrologers, and maybe both.
I think those points in time are already there naturally, but like they're utilizing them for their own means, right? Like I don't think that the Illuminati puts these points into the timeline.
No.
That's not.
Well, astrology even has this in its own system. There's cardinal points, fixed points, and mutable points. So like a fixed point is something you can't move or change, basically. And then a mutable thing is like you could make it spin either way, right? And it goes on like that. Anyway.
It's like a funnel. You're in the funnel point where you can't change anything when that happens.
I'll confirm that anyone that's a player like on the global scene is definitely good at astrology.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, I was just going to say mutability is malleability, so.
And there could be many ways that I could go about this. I wrote this to be like open for everybody else to talk on and put their own input. And there's different perspectives and versions of the lore, so keep that in mind. But, also we don't condone any of this. None of this we approve of or we're saying is fact. Back in 2003, in a motel room just outside of Rachel, Nevada, a man named Michael Harrington sat alone with a camcorder balanced on a stack of phone books. An alleged former Army intelligence officer with 18 years of service. As the story goes, this guy was top-tier stuff, concerning like government secrets that could get through doors even presidents didn't know existed. He says into the camera,
"My name is Michael James Harrington. If you're watching this, then something has happened to me. I need you to understand something. Everything I'm about to tell you is true. I have documentation. I have photographs. I have testimony from people who will never come forward publicly because they're too afraid. Project Looking Glass was real. It wasn't about remote viewing. It wasn't about predicting the future through statistical analysis or intelligence gathering. They built a machine, an actual device that allowed operators to view temporal possibility fields. They could see different versions of the future based on different decisions they made in the present. But here's what they don't want anyone to know. They weren't trying to predict the future. They were trying to control which one we end up in. And when the machine started showing them something they couldn't control, something inevitable, they shut it down. They classified everyone involved. They threatened us. They made us disappear. I'm mailing this to someone I trust, a journalist in Los Angeles. That was your first mistake. If I disappear, if I turn up dead in some convenient accident, she'll know what to do with it."
The recording keeps rolling for another 22 minutes.
Are the rest of the 22 minutes just yelling about Jews? I'm curious.
What the
Just a guess. I'm just saying. Okay, please
So
continue.
Mel Gibson get pulled over.
How about that one? Ari Emanuel, how you like that one? Hey, Ron.
And Harrington, he just goes all in basically, spilling all the beans, names, dates, places, all of it. He gets weirdly technical about the device, like he's done this 1,000 times, and then he starts breaking down what they saw in specific viewing sessions. And then right at the end, he drops one line that sticks in your brain, the kind of thing that haunts you the second the tape cuts out.
Every future past 2012 converges. Every single one. It doesn't matter what choices we make. It doesn't matter what actions we take. They all lead to the same place. And when the team realized that, when they understood that free will might be an illusion past a certain point, they were terrified. Because if the future is fixed, if everything is already decided, then what are we?
The recording cuts abruptly.
You need people like me so you can point your fingers.
I just love that they're staring down like an hourglass and they see that funnel action in the middle and they're like, it's the end of the world!
No, we have to save Jasmine before she dies in the sand.
Like, you guys don't even know what's on the other side of it yet. Calm your tits.
Right? Yeah, no kidding.
Anyway, 3 days later, Michael Harrington just disappears. His rental car turns up ditched on some desert highway. His motel room wiped clean. No body, no struggle, no obvious crime, nothing to chase. Local cops file it as a missing person, poke at it for a few weeks, and then it goes ice cold. But that envelope still makes it to Los Angeles. And that's the moment the real story starts.
By 1981, the Defense Intelligence Agency steps in and the whole thing levels up. More money, tighter secrecy, and the mission shifts from research to applications on the battlefield. Supposedly, they're running viewers on actual targets. Hostages, Soviet subs, inside foreign military sites. But if Harrington's leaked stuff is legit, that's only half the story. Because while all of this was happening on the surface, something else was running in parallel. If human consciousness can travel to different places in space, then what can stop it from traveling to different places in time?
Same thing.
In modern times, it's clear that physics spits in the face of the way that we look at time in general. Einstein basically kicked the door off the hinges when it comes to time. Before him, people just looked at it as a single steady river. Same speed for everyone, everywhere. But relativity says nope.
Nope.
Time actually isn't universal. It's local. It's elastic. It can stretch, compress, and behave differently depending on where you are and how fast you're moving.
Like breasts.
Don't distract me. And here's the part that messes with your head. The faster you move, the slower time moves for you compared to someone standing still.
You would feel the same, but the other person would appear to be going very quickly.
And that's not a metaphor. That clocks really tick differently. Same with gravity. The stronger the gravity, the slower time runs. That means time near a massive object is literally thicker, like it's moving through syrup, as if you're in Canada. When we talk about time, we're not talking about one thing. We're talking about a variable that changes based on conditions. Now, jump to quantum mechanics, where Mari is a master, and things get even weirder. Reality doesn't behave like solid objects in clear cause and effect. It behaves like probabilities, like potential. A particle can exist in a kind of not one thing yet state until it's measured. And once it's measured, it snaps into a definite outcome. Reality as a menu of options until something forces a choice. What did you talk about earlier? The double slit experiment? Somebody mentioned that?
I mentioned it.
Then you've got entanglement, which is where two particles act like they're linked, even if they're separated by huge distances. You change one, and the other matches it instantly in a way that makes classical logic sweat. Now, important detail here, this doesn't let you send messages faster than light, but it does suggest something unsettling. The universe has connections that aren't limited to normal space the way that we intuitively understand it.
It's like the universe has Wi-Fi, but you don't.
Exactly. Like there's a deeper layer underneath the surface rules. And that's where people start making the leap. If reality at its base level is probabilistic, then maybe the future isn't a single railroad track. Maybe it's a whole branching structure, multiple paths, multiple outcomes, until something locks one in. In the mainstream view, that locking in is about measurement and interaction, not human attention or psychic powers. But you can see why the idea becomes like gasoline for bigger theories. Observation doesn't just reveal reality, it seems to select it, which is just like a huge mindfuck.
Where can I get the quantum Wi-Fi? I want it.
This is something that new age self-help gurus will tell you, that there's not much difference between predicting the future and creating the future. The two sort of happen simultaneously.
This is also something you kind of see if you play video video games or develop video games, whenever there's some sort of random or quote unquote random or procedural element, like you open a loot box or a chest and there's something random inside, in the universe of the game, in the setting, that item was always in that box. Like, if you live there, but it really wasn't there until someone clicked on it and opened it, and then it was randomly rolled on a table and inserted into it.
I know I've brought it up before on the show for another example, but it's, again, like the end of the Ghostbusters, with the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and the thinking and...
I tried not to think.
Right?
Well, that's actually how the remote viewing works.
That's what I'm saying.
You have to not think and just allow it to come into your vision. But that actually is related to what we're talking about, because the same New Age gurus will tell you oftentimes when they're channeling, get this, it feels like they're making it up. Of course, a lot of us do think they are making it up. But like anyone who actually believes in channeling or has experienced channeling themselves or has gotten hits or done remote viewing, sometimes it feels like you are making it up.
This is why I'm bringing it up in response to what you said earlier, because you were saying that it's the difference between creating your own future and the future as a separate idea. It's the same thing. Like
it's got some built-in, like perhaps it's too nuanced and divine for the military to like fully wrap their heads around entirely. But they're gonna try.
And just to comment on what Chills was saying earlier with his video game analogy, when you're in a video game, the stuff in the background doesn't render until it's necessary to.
Yes.
It's like if you relate it to quantum physics, it's like, I'm sorry, I can't not observe it,
So if you smash those two worlds together, relativity making time flexible and quantum theory making reality a field of probabilities, you get this creepy philosophical zone where the future starts to feel less like a destination and more like a landscape, a fog of potential that hasn't fully solidified yet. And in that zone, the scariest question isn't, can we predict the future? It's, what happens if somebody figures out how to look at the landscape without collapsing it the normal way and learns how to steer which version becomes real?
Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
What if the mind isn't just in the universe? What if it's one of the things that actively interacts with it? I think we all kind of think this, right?
I mean, this ties in with the idea of source consciousness, right? And the all.
Yeah, many different names, same thing. Because if reality at the quantum level is just basically a cloud of possibilities until someone forces an outcome, the obvious question is, what counts as observation? Is it only a lab measurement with instruments, or is it like any kind of interaction that pulls information out of the system? And if that's where people started like eyeing consciousness like it's a missing piece, what if the human mind, at some level we don't fully understand and probably never will understand, can touch that probability field, not in a clean like Hollywood way or like a woo-woo way, more like an intuitive brush with futures that haven't happened yet. Like we're just connected to it somehow. I'm not gonna try and explain it. I can't make it make sense. But kind of like a pre-collapse glimpse, impressions, symbols, flashes, patterns, probably something to do with like the unconscious in Jungian psychology. Like not a guaranteed prophecy, more like catching the shape of what's most likely before the universe commits. And if that's even remotely true, it reframes. Like gut feelings, precognitive dreams, weird synchronicities. Suddenly they stop being woo-woo. They stop looking like random glitches, and they start looking like weak signals from a far wider system beyond our comprehension.
I think that's how magic works. Like this stuff exists in the astral, and then if you have any awareness of it, in theory, you're supposed to be able to get on that 3D printer level and help it manifest in the form that you can handle or want versus how it was going to automatically. And you can do that based on your knowledge of the archetypes and the symbols, in theory.
Now, to be clear, mainstream physics, it doesn't say the mind collapses reality like in a magical way.
It never does.
I know. I kind of don't think that we should go down that path because I think it makes it too easy. Like that idea is controversial and like usually overhyped or done by woo-woos, crazy schizos. Nothing against schizos, I'm on your side. But the question still lingers because like consciousness is the one variable that we experience directly and still can't fully explain. So how can we put labels on it? We can map like brain regions, measure signals, model perception. Supposedly we can like look into dreams now, but the observer part, the subjective, the first person experience, it stays slippery no matter what we do.
The Machine, the first prototype, 1991.
In 1991, the Soviet Union collapsed and the Cold War ended with the Soviet threat fading. The money shifts from things like Stargate into staying ahead of every other sort of tech and what the planners call full spectrum dominance. Not just winning the fights in front of us, but spotting the next ones coming and getting out in front of them before they can even start. With this goal in mind, Black Project scientists begin working on a machine that can help consciousness travel through space-time with the user's mind as the steering wheel. Bob Lazar has talked about this on Joe Rogan, and I probably shouldn't just sum it up as they made machine, because there's a lot more to it than that. Where could this type of technology even come from, right? Seems like jumping the gun a bit, but through mind-clearing techniques, theta state brainwaves, they discovered how to remote view through time as well as space when interfacing with an alleged machine. Remember how I said earlier that mainstream science is starting to say that the brain is just a receiver and that consciousness may originate outside it?
Yo.
Well, remember what Nikola Tesla said? He said that the brain is just a receiver too. Interesting to think about.
You mean receive about?
But that's not all, of course. As we know, Tesla allegedly also created a secret death beam energy projectile weapon he thought would be the end of all wars. It could blow up missiles from far away, discombobulate non-lethally, or lethally.
He thought that once somebody possessed this death beam, nobody could fight them. He was probably right.
The US was like, that sounds kind of cool, but we're gonna go for nukes instead. However, upon Tesla's death, I shit you not, Donald Trump's uncle raided his house with feds and got the goods on Tesla's research.
We do talk about this in the last part of a Tesla series. This does actually happen.
Reality is always stranger than fiction. And for decades, directed energy weapons for the longest time, they were only conspiracy theories. Then, guess what? After Trump took the president of Venezuela hostage, he confirmed the use of energy weapons like this, which is a super weird coincidence, and don't think about that one too deeply.
Don't think about it too deeply or you'll get discombobulated.
It's funny because Havana syndrome used to be like a conspiracy theory, right?
I was just about to say that.
Yes.
The last time we discussed it, it was a conspiracy theory. That was like a year or two ago, and now it's a meme. Like, yeah, all the people manning the anti-aircraft guns, and their nose just started bleeding. They started projectile poop vomiting out of the butts, and basically the hands got too sweaty to use the instrumentation. They got discombobulated.
Bob Lazar talks about this technology too. He said that how these things travel is through gravity that alters time itself, not through propulsion and stuff like that we think of in Star Trek. Back when Star Trek was good, that most people think of when thinking about spaceships and rockets and whatnot.
In his own words during his 1989 interview,
it allows you to do virtually anything. Gravity distorts time and space. By doing that, now you're into a different mode of travel, where instead of traveling in a linear method, going from point A to point B, now you can distort time and space to where you essentially bring the mountain to Muhammad. You almost bring your destination to you without moving. And since you're distorting time, all this takes place in between moments of time. It's such a far-fetched concept.
So basically, this is laying out this big claim that during World War II, Nazi Germany supposedly had anti-gravity. Us long-term conspiracy theorists and paranormal investigators, specifically in the UFO phenomenon, we've known about this our whole lives, right? Pretty early on, we see the swastika UFOs. But basically, bent space-time, built a bunch of different ET vehicle types with slave labor, then moved a huge chunk of it to underground bases in Antarctica before the war even ended, using giant submarines and tunnel systems. Allegedly, U.S. naval intel like William Tompkins knew about it, and that is when America first realized that non-human/Nordic beings were here and involved.
why did they have to be tall white Nordics? What if they had been short, dumpy New Jerseyites?
That's funny, because I've talked about the Nordics on Instagram and other stuff, just because it's part of UFO phenomenon lore, and people get really pissed. They're like, what's wrong with you? Why are you talking about Nordics? And it's just they go into all kinds of racism stuff, blah, 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 blah. And it's just dude, it's just UFO, paranormal lore content. This is legit stuff if you've read all these books.
No, they always talk about the tall white Nordics. They're so damn important. But what about the short New Jerseyites? Who do you think invented a pie crust? You think that was a bunch of Nordics? Yeah, I don't think so.
I want there to be black leprechaun aliens.
All I know is pain.
I walk in here.
I want pie crusts.
I prefer the term Pleiadians, but Nordics are hand in hand kind of a term with them.
Who do you think invented edible condoms? They're delicious.
What the What?
That's a source of food right there. We're a contributor to the human race. You ever think about how much energy it takes to both eat and reproduce? Here we go, thinking about the needs of humans, putting them together. What do the tall Nordics have? What do they got?
Calm down, Tony Soprano. It's all good.
It was more like Bernie Sanders.
They
That's
got
like
giant
Boston a
swastikas
little bit,
that'll
yeah.
float.
I just hear Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger.
That's what I was thinking.
You get that giant piece of French fries away from me.
Tompkins later claimed he worked in secret aerospace programs, building space-capable craft, while Nordic individuals allegedly showed up from time to time to help solve Apollo engineering problems telepathically, and even influenced NASA contracts with names like Von Braun in the room.
Nazis.
Dun dun dun. This conspiracy theory suggests that major scientific advancements were secretly influenced by people of other worlds, and that UFOs are, in fact, genuine interplanetary craft. The theory further alleges that secretive occult and intelligence groups, including the Church of Scientology's lore about Earth as a prison planet, have long sought methods to perceive events outside of linear time. Moreover, it includes rumors that the Vatican may have a device in the 1950s through 60s called the chronovisor, which supposedly could view past and future events by decoding residual electromagnetic imprints.
This is the device that took a photo of Jesus Christ, correct?
Yes, and could also watch Julius Caesar jerk off.
What? Awesome. I
know.
want to watch Julius Caesar jerk off. That sounds like the manliest thing I could possibly imagine.
We should set him up with an OnlyFans.
Dude, he would get all the money. There wouldn't be any money for anybody else.
So I did a little bit of digging on this. The Vatican didn't just possess it. They didn't like steal it from a scientific lab. A Vatican priest invented it.
Yeah, but how many souls did he sell to invent that, bro?
The description was like, all right, so you know how like atoms are really small. And technically, if you drink a bottle of water, some of the atoms in there have been inside of the large intestine of Jesus Christ, okay? And technically speaking, some of those atoms have electricity. And you can tune the chronovisor into that electricity, which has stored upon it the imprint of every piece of Jesus Christ's large intestine that it has ever been inside of. And you can see with the chronovisor anything you want to look at. That's basically how it works. But it's basically like there's a little bit of electric charge from the past and everything. And if you like zoom in on that charge, you can see the past. That's what it said.
Yeah, holographic universe.
To this day, some claim that Donald Trump allegedly knows about the Nordic presence and may be close to disclosing it publicly.
Well, he's going to have to
I mean, you-
distract everyone from those emails.
Bro, he married one.
Did you see those legit articles about like the Bank of England warning people be careful and prepare for collapse if the U.S. like goes forward with disclosure?
Whole rabbit prophecy moment. Okay, mark my words. Giant lockdown, alien invasion, bombing Iran. Those three. That's going to happen no matter what. That doesn't count. That's way in the future. That does count, but we're so sure it's going to happen, we're not even going to predict it. But those three things I'm predicting to cover up all the bullshit.
So one of the three is what you're saying, not all three at the same time.
It could be two of three of them at the same time. Yeah, because they have to make it stick. They can't let you catch your thoughts. It has to be like they have to escalate because that's how cults work. You have to keep escalating or you can't keep people in line. Where do you go from? We're not even there yet. We're not even there yet. We'll get there. This story goes there.
Are Nordics illegal aliens?
Yes, they are. They don't have green cards. They don't pay taxes. They just think that everything belongs to them, you know?
Technically, they are humans, just a different version, because their genes were used to create us, partially.
I looked into it. From a strict perspective, it was technically Bob Lazar who introduced the public to Project Looking Glass. He first mentioned it, or at least a description of it, in an interview he did with KLAS-TV on the record, September 12th, 1989. That's where the quote came from earlier. If you don't know who Bob Lazar is, he's the guy who appears on the Joe Rogan podcast with George Knapp, and he was making, like, all the way back in the 80s, he's like, yeah, they have this palm scanner, and they have this UFO and that UFO, and, like, a number of the things that Bob Lazar has said has like come true or been vindicated.
Dude.
So despite saying some crazy stuff throughout the years, he's one of the more believed supposed ex-employees of Area 51, etc.
I was going to say that. I totally used to think that he was just like a stooge and a pretender and full of shit. But all this stuff that he was talking about is coming true or being proved. I feel really bad that I talked all kinds of crap about him in the past.
So I'll put another wrinkle into it. Bob Lazar also supposedly self-reportedly had a problem with prostitutes. going into debt hiring prostitutes.
Well, who doesn't? Come on.
Well, which sounds unrelated until you consider how blackmail and sexual blackmail has been so extensively a part of this whole Epstein situation.
Mm-hmm. That's how they control the globalist elite and keep them in line.
Like
Got to
Bob
get them in
Lazar-
precarious situations.
Yeah, like Bob Lazar coming clean about hiring prostitutes and the trouble it brought him might have been him breaking free of some sort of blackmail attempt.
Yeah, remember Harrington from earlier? The guy who made that video and vanished? Well, according to Harrington, a team of scientists and engineers were put together for an elite team. And they were many different people from many different black budget programs. So they were basically the A-team, or the Yankees. Their goal? To expand on Stargate and all of their prior research into psychic activity and build what they called internally the Looking Glass platform. Now listen carefully, because this is how the machine is described, not a single magic box, but like a system built out of 3 different worlds that were never meant to touch. First, remote viewing protocols developed at Stanford Research Institute were taught to the subjects. Training methods designed to push an operator into altered states.
That's the really dark part we're gonna talk about soon.
Then came laser interferometry, connected to Lawrence Livermore, highly sensitive measuring systems, the kind of advanced tech that was capable of detecting incredibly subtle disturbances, like even fluctuations in space-time itself.
Like really silent farts.
Dude, we're serious right now.
Okay.
Then came in early quantum computing prototypes funded by DARPA-era quantum information science efforts. This is not modern quantum computing you may have heard of and may be familiar with. This is early stage, classified experimental stuff. The stuff that would look like ridiculous madness back in 1991. The scientists, they mixed all of these into a single system.
And that's how they invented the internet?
No, Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
Roll a d6.
Okay. So it's a really big device.
The D in DARPA stands for dungeons.
And it's not just any old device. Like all of their technology and methodology is built up to this one thing. So it's really important.
The quantum components generated what the team called coherence fields, stabilized quantum states, sustained, held, controlled. Then the laser interferometry measured minute fluctuations in those fields. The RV protocols, when I say RV, that means remote viewing. The RV protocols train the operator to focus consciousness in a specific way while interfacing with the system. Now, what does that mean in normal people talk? The operator was sitting inside an instrumental environment designed to amplify perception and translate it into measurable change. A human mind plugged into a physics experiment. Reminds me of the Matrix a little bit.
Or like Star Wars or Stranger Things, etc.
The whole theory of all this stuff, as said by Harrington, goes like this.
The future isn't a straight line. The future exists as a probability wave. The future and different timelines is not fixed. Multiple potential outcomes exist at the same time. A trained operator using the machine to amplify perception could observe those probability waves before they collapse into objective reality.
Meaning, the many worlds theory from quantum physics is real, at least to a degree in this conspiracy theory. The operator could see many different futures branching out from the present moment, like tree branches, and the machine was pretty much a way to look at the tree as a whole all at once. You know, it's kind of like, I can't think of an analogy.
I like the analogy of a river better, because then it's like you have a map of the river, but it pulls you. So you have to make a decision because it's pulling you towards the bigger branch, right?
Yeah, well said. So allegedly, the first successful experiment occurred in December 1991. The operator sat in a magnetically shielded chamber lined with countless sensors. The operator was then given a target similar to normal remote viewing experiments, a question about a future event.
And according to leaked session logs...
Operator, tell me how many sensors are in this chamber.
I don't know. They're countless.
The operator looks into the device and starts describing multiple overlapping images.
Wait, I'm seeing 3 different Joe Bidens. One is very tall.
Different versions of the same event, all playing out in slightly different ways. This sounds discombobulating, right? Well, it's even worse than you think because these descriptions are not clean. And what I mean by that is like what was seen was fragmentary, symbolic, like the future speaking through metaphor. They weren't actually seeing it clearly.
It's like out of focus or fuzzy until it manifests. So what you're seeing is like inklings or dreamlike suggestions of what's to come.
Then the scientists compared compared these experiments to actual outcomes of their targets. The correlation was supposedly significantly above chance, which opened the door for even greater funding. The team was freaked out from the success. They ran more sessions, refined protocols, and adjusted equipment to perfection, making results more and more consistent, more detailed. Everything was going great, and then things began to become troubling. The more they went deeper, the more they realized something that sounds small but is actually terrifying. If they are seeing multiple possible futures, then prediction isn't just knowing what will happen, it's a form of navigation. A way that could be used to choose which branch one wanted, a way to steer the ship essentially. And if that's true, then the biggest question isn't whether the machine works. The biggest question is who gets to look and who gets to steer the ship. Because this machine didn't just change intelligence work, it changed reality itself. Think about that. Dystopia beyond comprehension becomes quite possible with this, doesn't it? Think about it. If the wrong people are able to steer the ship, it changes what truth even means. Not to mention the affront to an individual's perceived free will.
It almost would allow someone to hijack all of reality.
Don't have any cognitive dissonance right now with what I'm saying, by the way. It's not my intent to make you have a psychological breakdown. Because once you have a machine that can show you futures, the next battle isn't against enemy nations. It's against your own team. It's over interpretation, control, over what the machine is really doing, and what it might be doing to the people who use it.
It's a trap!
According to this conspiracy theory, humanity had touched forbidden knowledge that changed the paradigm of existence itself.
But if you'd like to hear the rest of the story, where we talk about
Butt stuff.
well,
Yeah.
yes, but also how Project Looking Glass was used to divert the 2012 apocalypse.
Child slaves.
Yes, also child slaves, because it does tie into some of those themes in Stranger Things, and it relates to the Epstein emails, and it's a little more real than I thought it would be. The end of the second half of the show is messed up, because it does get into some very real territory, and it's dark. And if you'd like to hear that, make sure to visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your monthly donation of just $5 will not only get you a 5x5 high-quality vinyl sticker of our Big Bunny Baphomet cover art. Oh no, you'll get the second half of this episode. You'll get the second half of all of our episodes, which stretch back all the way into 2019, where this whole story began.
And into the future.
And into the future, where you'll hang out with us on our Discord server, because you'll even get the secret keys that give you access to it. And then you can hang out with us and eat carrots and shoot lasers.
Pew pew pew.
Pew pew.
If you
P.S.
Oh, yeah.
If you listen to part 2, we are not responsible for your mental health.
No, we're not. You're totally screwed.
Okay, now pew pew. Pew pew.
Pew, 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 pew.
if you
Pew pew pew.